Here we go. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm absolutely delighted. We're doing an impromptu conversation today with the fantastic Tellman Knudson. I hope to God I finally got to pronounce your name right, Tellman.
I think it's the miraculous Tellman Knudson, the terrific, the tremendous,
the outstanding,
unstoppable Tellman Knudson.
The indomitable, how about that?
You totally pronounced it right. I appreciate that. Most people pronounce it wrong.
Yeah, we were talking. It is an unusual surname. I don't have that problem with McCarthy. Most people can get it pretty much off the bat. They just don't understand what I'm saying rather than not being able to pronounce my name. So, guys, I asked Tellman to come on because, as you know, Tellman was one of the legends on the Legends of the Digital World, which is the page we're broadcasting on. And I asked Tellman just to come on and have a chat because I knew Tellman, but I've really got to know Tellman over the last week, and he's been an amazing help to me. And I will say that hand in heart. There's been a couple of the legends have been truly amazing in their help and in their sharing of knowledge and what they do. And we've got to know each other reasonably well at this stage. And what I think is fascinating was Tellman's journey, right? Because one of the questions that I asked Tellman was like, hypnotism? How in the name of God did you market hypnotism? Right? Was one of the questions. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. So Tellman, where I'd like to start, and this is going to be an interview, guys. If you've got any questions, if you're on live or if you've got any questions afterwards, we'll come back and answer the questions as always. So what I would really like to do, I suppose, we'll go back to the start because it's always fascinating, especially when somebody's, looking to how to start. When you started, the internet really was in its infancy. You were talking about doing teleseminars. Can you tell us your journey starting?
Yeah, well, my journey starts well before the internet. I'm not going to spend a long time on it, but at the time of this interview, I'm 41 years old, and I started my first business when I was 19 in a dorm room at my college, and it's kind of a crazy story, but I basically started my first business with my now wife, essentially on our first date, and it was called Tellman's Salsa, because I love hot peppers. I've always loved hot peppers, and I was living in northern Vermont, going to college, eating a lot of nachos, because nachos are definitely my favorite food, and they always have been. And there was crap for salsa. It was horrible. The state of the world in 1996 in northern Vermont for good salsa, it was a horrible experience, and I was very frustrated, and it was 3 a.m. and we decided to go to the grocery store and bought all these ingredients and ended up spending the next 3 days making up salsa recipes. And a few of them were amazing. And what happened was I started selling it. I started cooking it in my dorm quad on the stove. And it was super garlicky and super mustardy and super hot peppery, and it filled up the entire floor with intense salt, like super strong salsa smell, super garlic. And then it filled up the whole building, but it smelled so good that it drew all of the students up into my quad. And I was an introvert, and I didn't really know anybody, but I loved eating nachos, and so I made a lot of nachos in the oven and would have them there and available for taste tests. And the next thing I know, I was selling pints of salsa out of my dorm room that we canned in mason jars in very questionable conditions, right there, either in at my girlfriend at the time's apartment or in my little makeshift kitchenette. And so that's how I started my first business. And I was running cross country at a national level at the time, so I was a very serious athlete. And I was putting myself through college full time and started this business. And so I ran this business part time all through my college career and a little while afterward. And basically 5.5 years of salsa making intensity. And what happened at the end of the day was I had a very, very high quality product. I didn't have money or knowledge on how to scale the business. It was me, my girlfriend, and whatever other friends I could convince to work for salsa because I couldn't pay them, as manual labor on whenever I needed to make more salsa. And then it was me piling all the salsa into the back of my Toyota Tercel and driving throughout New England to try to sell it to all of the natural food stores and health food stores and food co-ops and that kind of stuff in a pretty rural environment, right? And at the time I looked like a total dirty hippie. I had like my hair was dyed blue. I had a nose ring and an eyebrow ring, and at points I did have a big beard, but it didn't look nearly as well kept as this particular beard. And I'd wear like dirty bell bottoms and dashiki shirts in and try to sell the salsa and wonder why they wouldn't buy it from me, you know? And at the end of the day, what it came down to was I couldn't sell the salsa at a profit wholesale. I couldn't sell it cheap enough to have it be profitable because I used really high quality ingredients and it was the most amazing salsa on the market. But then stores are willing to pay on a experimental product that was being sold wholesale by a weird dude with a strange name that they didn't quite know, right? And so, because I didn't have a distributor, I was doing it all myself. And at the time, I sucked at sales. I had never studied sales. I was terrible at sales, and I hated sales and marketing. And so that was my first failed business. You know, every few years I'd try to borrow, or a few months in some cases, I'd borrow money from friends and family to try to make the business, you know, go for the next batch of salsa, and I'll figure it out this time. But no, I didn't figure it out. And so Tellman's Salsa died. It was a tragic, horrible death. And I'm very sad about it. People still ask me for Tellman Salsa to this day and ask me to bring the company back. But that was my first failed business attempt. I went on to have quite a few more of very bootstrapped businesses where I was just taking a few $100s that I had saved and trying to start up we tried to start up a summertime, you know, in between college lawn care business. And we called it the Lawn Barber. And we did this brochure, and it was like this punk kid with like green hair, except there was a lawnmower going over his head, and he mowed half his hair off, and the other half was all sticking up what looked like green grass, you know, in their lawn. And we bought these two really nice lawnmowers, and we were ready to do manual labor all summer, mowing every lawn in town, you know. And there was a drought. It didn't rain. It just didn't rain that summer for summer. It's unusual. We never have droughts up here, but there was a drought that summer. It's unbelievable. That business clearly did work, and then I had to sell the lawnmowers at a loss. You know, it was great. Very, very productive summer. And so I had several other different types of businesses that I tried that failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed while I was working part-time, while I was going to college and all these other types of things. And basically, after I finished school, you know, I decided to become a hypnotist. I went to a hypnotherapy. So let me fast forward. So in college, I was studying peak performance and flow state in athletes. I was a very serious distance runner. I wanted to win more races. I wanted to train at a higher level. I wanted to get faster. And I knew that having an amazing mental edge was one of the keys to doing that. And so I really got into studying perception and the mind and what it was capable of and and I was writing papers on it. I even went and apprenticed with 3 different shamans from around the world in order to really start studying how different cultures had used altered states of consciousness to achieve amazing things. And I'm not just talking about like doing hallucinogenic drugs or whatever. I'm really talking about deep brain stuff. And so what happened was I after I finished school, I was looking for a job because I had bills. You know, I was looking for a high paying job with minimal commitment. And
the normal.
That's right. And what I didn't find one, but what I did find was a little ad in the classified section of the newspaper for a hypnotherapy certification course. And I had written a paper or two on hypnosis for college as one of the, you know, tools to get into altered states and use them for peak performance and so on. And I had tried self-hypnosis a little bit with minimal success, but I had tried self-hypnosis a little bit and was really interested in it. And so I went and I spent my last $2,000 in my pocket on hypnotherapy certification in order to continue. I figured it was the best chance that I had to be able to make a reasonable amount of money by continuing my studies from college in the real world, right? I didn't want to teach like woo-woo workshops about spirituality or whatever. You know, I'm a little, though I'm into those, but like I didn't want to teach them. And I wanted a way that I could make money from wherever I lived, and hypnosis seemed like it was a reasonable profession for me to get into. So I spent my last $2,000 on it, and I started taking this 12-week long class with a bunch of other people. And what happened was, it was really pretty fascinating. What happened was, it was really the first thing in my life that I had ever done that I was actually good at without trying. It was the first time I did something in my life where I had skill that was just hidden. Because everything else I had ever tried to do in my life, I sucked at so bad. Everything. Friendships. Socially, I sucked. Academically, I sucked. Sports-wise, fitness-wise, suck. I had no natural abilities, no natural talent that I was able to see as a kid. And that didn't take an enormous amount of willpower, enormous amount of effort for me to get good. And I was used to kind of just having to work really hard in order to develop the skills that I wanted to in my life. And when I did hypnosis, it was the first time something came naturally that was like useful. And it was awesome. And so what happened was, halfway through the course, there were 2 teachers, and halfway through the course, both of the teachers offered me a job. And nobody else in the course got offered a job, And so that was pretty rad. That was pretty cool. And so I started working as a hypnotist. For $7.50 an hour, I started working as a hypnotist. This is in the year 2000. And I was helping people lose weight, and I was helping people quit smoking, and I was helping people to overcome stress, but it was mostly weight loss. Because I went to work for my trainer, and she had a hypnosis franchise. She had one of the locations of a hypnosis franchise called Positive Changes Hypnosis. And I knew I was working for pennies, but I was working for experience, and it was better than working a crappy job that had nothing to do with anything that I wanted to study. So I was learning things, and I was willing to take the, measly paycheck in order to have good experience. And so I worked my butt off. I was working 60 hours a week. She ended up opening 2 other locations, and I was the primary hypnotist for all 3. And what happened is, I didn't know it at the time, but they were using direct response marketing. Not only were they using direct response marketing, I also didn't know this at the time, the direct response marketing that they were using was directly influenced by Rich Schefren.
Okay, so direct response marketing, I know what it is, but some of the people watching may not know what it is.
So what I'm talking about is ugly ads that are borderline offensive. I'm talking about newspaper ads and radio ads and TV ads, and this is in the early 2000s. Okay, this is before streaming video. This is before YouTube. This is before Facebook. This is the internet existed, but just barely, right? And this is AOL days, right? And so a direct response ad for weight loss would be like a giant headline at the top of the newspaper that's like, lose 150 pounds guaranteed with no effort. Okay? But if you're in the weight loss niche, do not say that. Okay? That's not okay. Okay? Today, that's not okay. Back then, in certain types of advertising, things were a little bit more lenient in certain ways. And so there's big ad, then there's like before and after pictures of like somebody that weighed 3,000 pounds and now they weigh 120 pounds and they look like a supermodel, and I did this in 6 weeks, right? And, look, no dieting, right? Or whatever. And they talk to the pain, the copy in ads talks about how horrible it is to be fat. And talks about how it's going to kill you and how you're going to die early and leave your family alone, and it just really like makes you feel like it's really like I felt at the time I felt like they were very sleazy ads, and I hated them. They were cookie cutter. They seemed like even if they were true, it looked like they were lies to me. Like it seemed unbelievable. It seemed bogus. And I hated it. And I didn't know why I hated it. I knew that I hated it. What I didn't really understand was this was just a proven marketing system that all the Positive Changes Hypnosis franchises were using. And the owners of the franchises usually were terrible marketers, but they were just paint by number. They were just running the ads that they were given because they were proven to work. And so I personally, they turned my stomach. And so I had this aversion to marketing, and I had always had this aversion to business because I tried reading business books and I like got bored and fell asleep, and so what happened was I worked for her for a while and then I went on my own. And I was like, okay, after 2 years, I'm like, I'm done. I can't keep following these rules anymore. I've got to do things my own way. I'm not getting paid enough money. I need to go out on my own. And so we parted on good terms. And I got a little office, and I printed up a brochure, and the brochure said it was my business at the time was called Silverfoot Hypnosis. And I had a picture of me, and then it listed like 85 different things, all in one block of text that hypnosis could be used to solve. And then you opened up, it was a nice light purple brochure, and you opened it up, and it talked about who I was and what my background was and why you should, come see me and how hypnosis works and contact information. And I put these brochures everywhere. I printed up as many as I could possibly afford, and I put them everywhere. And my phone would not ring, and I was getting angry. And I was a great hypnotist. Many of my clients followed me from working, at the previous office to wanting to work with me because they loved working with me. I got such great results for them. But the problem was so anyway, long story long, I suppose, is I got really, really tired of being poor. I got really, really tired of being great at what I did and not making any money. And I decided once and for all, the salsa company still existed, just barely, that I was going to figure out how to make money on the internet. And I was going to figure out how to sell hypnosis on the internet. And I was going to figure out how to sell salsa on the internet. I was going to figure out how to sell something on the internet so that I could break free from my local economy and so that I could really understand marketing. And so I had started reading some of the early ebooks that were out there, including Sean Casey's Mining Gold on the Internet. I probably read that book 30 times back in the day before I knew Sean. And then I also read Mark Joyner's Confidential Internet Intelligence Manuscript. That changed my life. What happened was I was reading about direct response marketing and reading about marketing online, and he taught me about this concept called integration marketing. And I'm not going to explain the whole principle here. Mark would probably do a better job of that. And Mark was one of the early godfathers of the internet. He sold the first ebook online. He invented ad tracking. Fortunately, a very good friend and an incredible mentor to me. And what happened was I read about this concept called integration marketing, and I went for a run. And when I had a client no-show on me, which happened all the time, it's one of the suckiest things about being a local healing practitioner is no-shows. Sucks. So I had a no-show. I was like, I'm going for a run to blow off some steam. And I had read this book, and part of this book, I went for a run, and I was struck with an idea. And the idea that I was struck with was instead of me having one office that was empty trying to pull people into my office, I decided to set up offices in places that already had the people that I wanted and that I could help. And I figured this out as I was running by a Curves for Women. I don't know if you know what Curves for Women is. It's another franchise for women where they can go and exercise without being judged and without being seen by guys. It's like they block out the windows so that everyone has privacy, so that people can get in shape even if they're self-conscious about their bodies or whatever. And I was like, Curves for Women has my customers. They have my clients. And so what I did is I went in there, I called, and I asked them if they had an empty room at least one day per week. Weird question, right? Especially from a guy. So they said yes. As a matter of fact, they have a massage room that only gets used one day per week. And I said, cool. And then I said, I have some clients, a lot of weight loss clients, who could probably use your facilities, but I didn't want to barge in there because it's a women, or maybe an after hours or something, so I can see what you're doing and confidently recommend clients to you. And they said, sure, of course. And so I went over and I got a tour of the facility and I saw the massage room. And then I said, let me ask you a question. If someone was going to rent this room from you full time, what do you think you'd rent it for? Would you like to make 4 times that instead? And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, here's my proposal. I'm trying to grow my practice. I can help your people. What's the biggest challenge you have with your clients? With your customers? What's the biggest frustration and challenge you have? They sign up for the program and then they don't come in. They don't come in and exercise. I'm like, you're right. How would you like to exercise them to all be motivated and focused on coming in every day like clockwork, no matter what, and have it be the forefront of their mind first thing when they wake up in the morning to improve their resolve?
That's a no-brainer.
I'm like, would that increase your stick rate? I probably didn't even have the word stick rate, but would that increase their ability to show up? Yes. Do you think they'd stay members longer? Yes. Do you think they get better results? Yes. I'd be happy to do it, and I'll do it for free. Let me explain. So this was the first time I made this pitch, and it worked. And so what happened was, every single one of your clients for free, one time, if they want to. Volunteer basis. I only have, if I'm in here 1 day a week, I only have 8 spots available per week. And what I'll do, I'll give them an amazing experience, and then at the end, I will let them know that they can continue or they can not continue. That this was the first session in a series of sessions that I created specifically to help them lose weight, get in shape, eat well, and feel great through the whole entire process. And it's a 7-session series. You just experienced the first session, and you can either pay for it 1 session at a time at $75 a session, or you can get all 6 sessions for the price of 5 and save $75 right now. And if you pay all at once, we can go up and pencil your name in for the next several weeks so that any of the other people who are coming in for their first free session, so that you have priority on the schedule. And then what I did is I told the business owner that I would pay her 50% of everything that I earned. No, I said 30% of everything that I earned within her walls. From any of her customers, I'd give her a commission. So I'd give them a free thing called an opt-in. Okay, I'd give them a free thing if they opted in, which is a free hypnosis session, followed by a sales pitch to continue the work. If they enjoyed what they just experienced, you can keep doing that, and you can either have a payment plan or you can save some money by paying all at once. And then every time I walked out the door at the end of the day, I cut for a third of everything that I sold. And she was making sessions that I was doing with people than she was selling her own memberships, because I ended up filling up my schedule. And so I maxed it out, and I was in there 5 days a week. And I was just hypnotizing all their people. But we do live in a small town, and so at a point it started to slow down a little bit. Yeah. And so I decided to go and open up another office. And so what happened was I ended up having 6 offices that were all within a 45-minute drive of where I live. So out in like spokes, like out from a wheel, because I live in a small town. I live in a 10,000 person town. And so you have to drive a certain level of distance in order to get exposure to new markets, right? And I set up 5 offices in a very similar structure to the way that I just explained to you, where I paid a percentage and paid a commission and then gave all of their clients and customers free sessions. And some of the offices worked and some of them didn't. But what it did is it created massive word of mouth, because even the people that didn't continue generally had an amazing experience. Even if they decided they couldn't afford it or they weren't willing to put that much money into fixing the problem, it just created an amazing ripple effect. And so next thing I was seeing 10, 12 clients a day, and going full force. And what happened was I did this for a few years, like 5 years or something.
Wow.
And and like total. And then it wouldn't have been a full 5 years. No, because I became a hypnotist in 2000. Okay, I did this for about 2 years. And what happened is I started getting kind of neurotic because I didn't have any downtime because I was working on paying my college loans off. I was trying to buy a car. I was working my butt off, and I had a lot of business, but I had cash flow, but I wasn't rolling in dough. And I did the math, and I realized I would have to work until I was 50 at this rate in order to just pay off my college loans. And what happened was I was absorbing all of the neurotic, crazy problems that all my clients had. I was like biting my nails, and I had cravings to eat really terrible food, and I was stressed out all the time, and it was because I was internalizing too many of these problems that all these hypnosis clients had, and it was like making me a little weird. I was like, this is not healthy. This is not good. And so I said, I've got to figure out how to sell recordings. I've got to figure out how to break free from just selling one-on-one sessions. I need some one-to-many power. And so throughout this process, my introduction to direct response marketing, I applied it to my local offices. But then I turned around and said, I'm going to get good at this internet marketing thing. And what happened was I decided to study email marketing because in 2004, I started a project called List Crusade. And with List Crusade, I looked around and saw all the guys teaching internet marketing at the time. And I looked around and I saw all the personal development gurus at the time that were successful online. And at the time it was Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Brian Tracy, Robert Allen, those guys, Joe Vitale, those guys. And I saw that they all had big email lists. I was like, big email lists. Huh, that seems important. This seems important. And so I decided to interview the best people in the world who taught email marketing and internet marketing and the self-improvement gurus that were implementing this on the self-improvement side, and talk to them about their strategies and techniques for growing the internet side of their business, and in the self-improvement side, the strategies and techniques for keeping their minds on point and overcoming obstacles and dealing with failure and all the kind of stuff that we deal with as entrepreneurs. And podcasts existed back then, but nobody knew what they were. So anyway, the point is that I did a big interview series. Jay Abraham was involved in it, and his signature was on the webpage, and he got 10% of the project for like 3 years. And it was awesome. I interviewed 80 of these people, and by the way, I got turned down 63 times in a row before I got my first yes on that. Wow. The story for another day, but like totally wasn't a win out of the gate. Like I had to work my ass off in order to get people to say yes to this crazy idea. Finally figured it out, and what happened was I interviewed all these people on email marketing and list building, and then I implemented what they said. And as I was implementing what they said, that meant putting those interviews out there so people could hear them, building my email list, and then putting people in front of those interviews. So at the end of the interviews, we sold usually an ebook at the time, for an affiliate link. So at first I had 10,000 people on my list. Not at first. At first I had one person on my list, but eventually I got 10,000, and then I got to 30,000 people on my list. And I was talking to them about email marketing and list building all the time, and the results that I was getting by implementing all the stuff that I was learning. And I told them the techniques that worked and told them the techniques that didn't work for me, and I was very honest about it. Without me realizing it, everybody then assumed I was the list building god. Because I was talking about it all the time, and I was interviewing all the experts on the topic, and I was asking all the questions on the topic, and I was implementing all the things and reporting back on the results on the topic. All of a sudden, I'm Mr. List Building Guy. I'm like, well, I'm a hypnotist. My company's called Overcome Everything. I want to sell hypnosis and maybe salsa. I don't want to be a marketing guru, but they really wanted me to be a marketing guru. I was like, oh, well, screw it. I'll give this a shot. And ended up building this multi-million-dollar marketing guru business with the company name Overcome Everything, and taught tons of people email marketing and list building, and had 35 employees all around the world, and we were making millions of dollars every year, and it was awesome. It was really good. And basically after about 7 years of that, I started getting jaded with the industry. And the industry did, for a while, get very dirty and nasty and unregulated and hypey. And there were a lot of very unsavory folks in the internet marketing industry for a while. And I decided to bow out. And I decided to, because I didn't want to be known as the how to make money on the internet guy. Like, I didn't want that on my gravestone. It's just, I wanted something different. I wanted something more. Something that meant something more to me.
It did go very dark for a period of time. I did the same. I bought like guys renting Ferraris and all the rest of it. Like,
yeah, especially when it's BS, like when people are just lying, you know. And so I decided to bow out of the industry and go back to hypnosis and personal development. And ever since then, what I've been doing is taking, 80% of my business is marketing. Okay, let me be abundantly clear. I am an internet hypnotist. I create online programs, both coaching programs and recordings and everything else, mostly for entrepreneurs or people that want to become entrepreneurs, certainly for people that want to make more money and be more successful. And we sell these in a wide variety of ways, and those are my products. But 80% of my time, my effort, my energy, my thought goes into marketing. I love marketing. It's great. It's just not what I want to really focus on selling anymore. And so today, I do all this email marketing, all this digital marketing. I still specialize in doing some really interesting things with email, specifically fictional email. And I'm really excited about what's going on in the world of bots right now, and have been really studying and immersed in bots for the last year and a half. I'm really looking forward to really getting good at chatbots as a new medium for conveying the message. But that's the story, man. That's what's going on.
So a couple of questions that I always like to ask when I talk to people like yourself is, and this is for everybody starting on, I know we're coming close to the end of our time, and it's been a pleasure to interview you because I could sit back and enjoy it. It was brilliant. So one of the questions and we talked a little bit about bots in a second, and you know, where do you see the industry going, and with hypnotism. So I have three questions. Right? One is, so
I'll give you short answers this time.
You'll have no choice. I'll turn it off. So hypnotism as a product.
Yes.
People would have thought that it would have been, I would have always thought about two things, right? One is I'm going to end up clucking like a chicken on the bus on the way home, because that is very much the commercial side of it. And second, I suppose there's 3 points. Actually, second doesn't work, right?
Right.
It's odd because it's people up on stage who've got ego issues, who go along with the show rather than actually stand up and go, no, this didn't work. And then if it does work, how do you take the kind of human contact of it and deliver that?
Okay, well, let's do, so first question.
Yeah. First question is, clucking like a chicken.
So, two things. One is, personally, I've never even been trained in stage hypnosis and comedy hypnosis, though it's a large part of the hypnotism industry. It is not hypnotherapy, it's entertainment. And here's the deal. I mean, the simple version about will I be clucking like a chicken or barking like a dog, that's really saying, are you going to take control of my mind and make me do stupid shit? And the answer is, with hypnosis, hypnotists don't take control of your mind. What hypnotists do is they teach you, they show you how to take control of your own mind. And even in entertainment hypnosis, it works the same way. And here's how it works. Here to go up on stage and be hypnotized, to act silly and do silly things on stage in front of other people, are they volunteering to get up on stage and act silly in front of other people? Yes, they are. It's voluntary. Secondarily, do some people volunteer even though it makes them nervous, or they're getting dragged up there by a friend or family member? Yes. If you've ever actually watched a stage hypnosis show, you've seen about 20% of the people that volunteer to go up are quietly and subtly asked to go sit back down at some point in the middle of the show. And that's because they're either resisting the hypnosis or because they're maybe too anxious, maybe they drank some coffee, maybe they're worried about something else in their life, maybe their best friend dragged them up there and they really, really, really didn't want to be there in the first place. The point is, always in stage hypnosis, it is still voluntary. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. As a hypnotist, I can't take control of your brain. It's your brain. If I say close your eyes and you leave your eyes open, all bets are off. If I'm like, imagine that you're floating on a cloud, and you're like, no, Tellman, I don't want to imagine that I'm floating on a cloud. Well, guess what? No beans. You're not going to get the benefit, and you're not going to go into a deep state of hypnosis. It's okay with me. So the point is, hypnosis is a skill like meditation, and a hypnotist is a guide that teaches you how to get into the state and then shows you how to rewire your brain to get different results. Whether the different results are losing your inhibitions so you can sing like Elvis from stage, or so you can just quit smoking without really worrying about it anymore. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So then to take it, because I know you do a lot of wealth
A lot of wealth hypnosis, yeah.
So and we've talked about this, you believe that, and I would 100% agree that, you wire your head gets wired in a certain way through your experiences, through your environment and all the rest of it. So how do you actually start the process of overcoming that? So if there's people watching this who are saying, okay, I want to go work for myself, I want to make more money, I want to do this, how does it work in a sense, this whole thing?
It's easier to believe with weight loss because there's so many people who's lost. Obviously, there are situations and people with certain health circumstances that defy some of these. But I bet you can tell me exactly right now the key things that most people need to do to lose weight. What are they?
Exercise more, eat better. There would be the two main ones, really.
Those are the two main ones, yeah. Right? Eat better includes drink more water, yeah. Right? But eat healthier, eat food that's better for your body or your body type. Things that are going to increase your metabolism. Not eat tons of sugar, right? Try to exercise 5-6 times a week vigorously, right? These things cause weight loss. That's it. Stop drinking alcohol. Boom, weight loss, right? It's great. So basic habit change. These are easy things to say, but not so easy to do if you're in the habit of eating or exercising or not exercising in a certain way, and you've been doing that for the last 20 years or whatever, right? So breaking our habits and breaking our patterns is very challenging because when most people try to break them, they are left with an empty hole in their soul. So you just try to get rid of this old thing, and then you have nothing to replace it, and you're just going at willpower alone to try to create these new habits. You're still hanging out with fat people. You're still going to fast food restaurants. You're not getting up an hour earlier to exercise. You've never done it in your life. You don't naturally crave the amount of water that your body needs in order to supercharge your metabolism and clear out all the toxins. These are hard things to remember and to program into our lives. And at the same time, when we learn new skills, we instantly apply them. So, example, like if your native language is English, and then as a kid, maybe you take a couple years of Swahili for some reason, and you learn some Swahili in school when you're a kid, and then you never study it again. But then all of a sudden, you find yourself kidnapped of Africa somewhere, and the only language they speak is Swahili. Well, what are you going to what's going to start coming? Swahili lessons from when you were a kid. They're going to come back a lot faster when you're in a full immersion situation. That's the learning of a new skill. And if you have that skill that's there and it's built in and it's appropriate and more effective to get the result that you're looking for, it's naturally going to happen instead of you having to use willpower to make it happen. So this applies to eating healthy food. This applies to exercising and drinking more water, but it also applies to all of the skills that we need to develop if we're going to make more money. So let's just say, instead of talking about weight loss, let's talk about internet marketing. Let's broad strokes, okay? Because everybody's business is different. There are a million ways to market and grow a business online, as we both know. But right now, You've been an entrepreneur. You've been an internet marketer for a long time. What are 3 skills that you need to improve that if you did, you know they would make you more money right now?
So for me, copywriting would be the main one. Focus would be another one, because there's so much stuff on the internet you can get, between this and that and the rest of it. They would be the 2 really for me.
Great. Copywriting is a hard skill. Focus is more of a soft skill. But they're both skills. Okay. And so I've absolutely hypnotized people just to become better copywriters. Okay. You are better at writing copy than you realize if you just stop telling yourself. And if you do it more, ta-da, more practice plus positive thinking equals better success. So, but what if you, so hypnosis is great because it's a state between being awake and asleep. And when you're in that zone, that limbo state, that meditative state, the interesting thing is you can learn new skills much, much, much faster than you can through normal rote repetition. The way we normally learn skills is just through practice. But with hypnosis, you can basically create the new neural pathways much, much, much faster because of the hypnagogic state. And that's the state of awareness you go into when you're in hypnosis, where you're not consciously trying to think about how everything should work and taking it apart and questioning everything because you're just in kind of floaty limbo land, chilling. Your brain can just absorb it without second-guessing everything and learn those skills much faster. So, for example, you could be hypnotized in order to really start loving books and podcasts about copywriting to the point where you just can't stop thinking about tuning into for the new I Love Marketing episode or tuning into the new whoever you're paying attention to, right? And then all of a sudden we can hypnotize you to start coming up with headlines while you're driving. We can hypnotize you to start hearing amazing subject lines pop out of conversations that you're having and words that you're reading. The point is that with all of these things, you really, really, really have the ability to improve a lot of skills. Focus is the same way. And so we would use hypnosis specifically to install and to amplify your self-confidence around copywriting, to amplify your thinking about copywriting, to increase your desire to learn more about copywriting, to be more creative when you're coming up with things, to remember the lessons that you learn about copywriting and the structures for creating headlines and bullet points and offers and so on. We basically just get your brain super fired up about that topic because you want to get better at it. But if we can ramp up your enthusiasm, all of a sudden you're going to get better at it with a lot less effort and a lot more naturally. And lo and behold, your sales page is double, triple, quadruple in conversion, and now you're making twice as much, 3 times as much money in your business, all because you essentially tricked yourself into believing you were better at copywriting than you used to be.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's kind of how that applies to entrepreneurs.
So, guys, before I finish, I'm going to put the link up for you as a bonus to watch the replay of Tellman's webinar. That's going to be there in the comments for you. And I just want to, so you can go and watch a bit more of this because we could talk for absolutely hours, but we're over time as this. So I want to finish with one question. If you could go back in time to when you're 18, 19 years of age, starting out on your entrepreneurial journey, and you could just turn up and give yourself 3 pieces of advice in a minute and a half, what would they be?
Okay, well, if that was the case, I would be giving myself advice about the salsa company. So I would say, number 1, the most important thing for the rest of your life is your list. You absolutely must build your mailing list, your cell phone list, your email list, your whatever, your list of customers and fans starting now. No one tries your salsa ever again unless you get their contact information, period. And then you stay in touch with them every single day for the rest of your life. Okay? That's number 1. well, again, maybe the medium is email, maybe it's mail, maybe the medium is chatbots, whatever. Maybe it's phone numbers. But the point is, you've got to stay focused on your fans, your followers, your clients, your customers, and giving you the ability to, and this is not getting a fan or a follower on Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. No. This is you having the ability, regardless of Facebook, regardless of Google, regardless of any other outside forces, you have the ability to reach out and communicate directly with your people because they're the most valuable people for you for the rest of your life. So that's number one, without a shadow of a doubt. Number two, again, as it relates to the salsa company, I would say, what's the number one selling product that you have? Get rid of all of the other ones and just sell the crap out of that. And only when you are making more than enough money to live the life that you want to live, selling that one product, and you really get it down to a system, then you expand your line of products. But do not create 12, 15, 20 different products and sell a little bit of each of them and have your marketing be terrible for all of them. Waste of time. So even if you want to, for your own sense of ADD and creativity and whatever, no. Focus on selling the bejesus out of the number one product that everybody already wants to buy from you. Okay?
Perfect.
That's number two. And number three would be the salsa business may or may not work out for you. You might want to try selling your knowledge because the ROI is way better. I.e., studying hypnosis and then start selling it on the internet in a few years. I mean, it's but yeah, you can sell your knowledge, you can sell your experience, and the profit margins are through the roof.
Yeah, I think that's a good closing comment. What you know is a lot of times much more valuable than what you do.
That's right.
Tellman, it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time out today to watch this, guys. We've got some Ryan give you back and great at Facebook Live. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I've learned a ton. Again, the link is there, and of course you can just Google Tellman, and if you're interested in any of the success stuff, it's brilliant. I was hypnotized many years ago. Tellman hypnotized us live on the session that we've actually replayed for it. That you're getting replayed. Replay's only up for a couple of days, so you need to get on it. Go
click through on that link, and you're going to get to experience an awesome wealth hypnosis session right now. Like, it's going to completely transform the way you think about yourself, your business, and most importantly, it's going to completely change the way you think at a deep level about your financial future for the better. You're capable of so much more than you're currently doing. Let's help you get there. Just check it out, see what you think. If you like it, do more. If you don't, well, I think you will. So.
Well, I absolutely loved it, and I'm doing more. So, Tellman, again, thank you very much for taking the time out. We went over time as always, because every time we get to chat, it's just, I learn so much. Thank you very, very much, and I wish you a great day.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the opportunity. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys.
See you guys.